Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Simply Dirty. I'm your host, Steven. I'm joined today by Lisa
Hello.
and David.
Happy to be here.
And we are here to talk about The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD. I know we're a little late in the game because it came out, a month ago. But we still want to talk about it because it's a really big release on the Nintendo Switch. And it's Zelda's 35th anniversary. And this game is just too good not to talk about. Especially with some of the improvements that have been made. So, do either of you want to start off?
First of all, I want to say that I already loved the original game. I know some people don't love it. They didn't like the motion controls, or they had other issues with it. But I liked it from the beginning. I thought it was one of my favorite previous Zeldas because of just some of the things, some of the best dungeons in the series, I think, and some really fun story elements, I thought. The interesting thing, they announced it, and they for the Switch, they said it's going to be this HD version with some improvements, and I thought that was cool. I wasn't necessarily planning to get it right away because I had other games I planned to play. I had a backlog full of games that I haven't gotten around to playing yet, but I ended up not being able to resist. Just my kids were interested for one thing, and I was like, okay, why not? I want to play it.
Lisa, how about you? Or I guess, David, is that your thoughts? I mean, we'll have time to go around again. So
I have more to say, but yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
Okay. I have to admit that I bought it and kind of was just going to store it away to play later because similarly, I have a backlog of games. Similarly to David, I have a backlog of games, but dissimilarly to David, I also have started most of them. Me to feel like I should probably finish those, but then I heard that you guys were gonna do thoughts about it, and I was like, I want to be involved in that. So I have to admit, I was also one of the people that played it originally and really enjoyed it. And as far as my thoughts about this game, I'm guessing that there's quite a bit of graphical enhancement, and that's nice. Like it looks pretty good, but I also didn't really focus on the graphics when it was on the Wii, so I really can't tell. Probably have some rose-colored glasses on, so I'm just like, at the very least, it did not age like Final Fantasy VII.
That is very true.
Yeah, it aged pretty good.
Yeah, so they did enough enhancement to the graphics that I can't look at it and be like, wow, this looks terrible. The most I've noticed is that sometimes shadows and light look a little interesting on people's faces, and I'm like, wow, that is a shiny face. But yeah, it's been good. And as far as motion controls for the Wii, for the Switch as opposed to the Wii, I think I am feeling a bit the lack of the little infrared bar. The gyro is all right. I do like how easy it is to reset, because you can just like press Y almost at any point and it will just be like, oh yeah, okay, that's center. So that's really convenient. However, I have had I did have some issues, usually specifically when flying the bird and trying to steer while diving. So
yes.
Which is a very specific case, but I had some problems with it. It was great. I was diving and trying to turn left, and eventually the gyro was just like, so we're going right? Yes. And I did not appreciate that. But yeah, I haven't really gotten into very many battles where the motion controls need to be precise. I am concerned. I really hope that it's not a problem. Like I said, I never really had a huge issue with the motion controls originally. Like, it could get annoying sometimes, but I feel like I was pretty okay with it. But I just kind of don't want to have to switch to button controls, which I know everybody is just losing their minds over. I love it so much. I have a very specific nitpicky thing where I don't like to have to click my control stick. I feel like it makes the drifting like accelerate in severity when I have to click the stick. I'm just like, I don't want to send in my Joy-Cons.
Absolutely fair.
So yeah, I'll probably, if I have any problems with the motion controls, I'll probably have to switch, and then I'll have to click the stick. and I'll be ticked, but I'm not yet at that point. So
Right.
that's my current thoughts.
I was gonna
Awesome.
say, I saw comments about the motion controls. Like at some point, most people are saying it's pretty good. You just get used to like pressing Y to recenter the gyro, and like once you get used to that, it feels fine. But
Yeah.
to be honest, so I'm with you. Like originally, I didn't really mind the motion controls that much. There was a few scenarios in the game where I remember being a little bit annoyed, but like maybe some boss fights or certain enemies.
Going into my thoughts, so I am one of those people, I guess Lisa's talking about, where that we are absolutely loving the button controls. You can probably tell I'm playing button controls right now, but yeah, the button controls have been fantastic, and I was a huge fan. In fact, Anthony will probably want me to tell you this. Anthony and I, when this game came out, we were more than okay with Zelda being Skyward Sword from here on out. Basically, we wanted every Zelda game to be just like this.
Originally, you mean?
Yes, originally like on the Wii. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Way
Every
back
Zelda
then.
game like that, it was so good. And yeah, for all the reasons that were already mentioned, the dungeons and the story is fantastic. One of my favorite Zelda Link combinations I've seen. So yeah, no, fantastic. But yeah, the button controls are also amazing, and that is because I've only played this game, the HD version, in button controls, because I know how this game is with motion. So I wanted to give the button controls a try, mostly. And they do take some getting used to, but it's actually not as bad as it sounds. But I know that, Lisa, you're totally fine if you don't want to click your stick. That's totally okay, and I get it.
Well,
I did try the motion controls today because we were doing this discussion today, and I hadn't done it yet. And I was like, I better just do it maybe once before we talk about it, or I'm not going to have much to say. So so I switched to motion, and the first thing I noticed, which is kind of what's been said already in other review sites on YouTube, is just the constant need to reset your aim. Every time I had to use an item, the aim would be completely off, and like Lisa said, I was definitely missing that Wii bar. It was kind of a pain in the butt, but it also brought back a lot of nostalgia for the motion controls and the way the game originally felt, and it felt so good. Those are my thoughts for the controls, but I am absolutely loving the buttons. David, have you played primarily with buttons, or have you been playing with the motion?
I've been using the button controls. I to be honest, haven't touched the motion controls. Like I was fine with them, but I wanted to try the new controls, see how they felt, and I've been loving them too, to be honest. Like they take some getting used to. It's a little different,
especially catching bugs.
There's not very many games where you're controlling your sword with one of the joysticks, so just that concept by itself takes a little getting used to. But after a little while, once the muscle memory kicked in, I guess I just got used to it, and it felt good. And another thing that took getting used to was, if you're doing button controls, there's a free roam camera right now. And first of all, the option to have like the free movement camera, it feels fantastic.
Yeah,
it makes the game feel brand new. Like,
is that not in the original?
No, you had to use the Z trigger to flip the camera behind you.
You just had to hit the ZL button.
Good old Z targeting.
Yeah,
that was it. Yeah, that was it.
That was the only way to do it. So, like, it feels so much more modern to have that free movement camera. It does. When you're using button controls, though, you have to hold down L and then move the right stick.
I thought you had to hold the L button for the motion controls too.
No.
Yeah, you just use the motion controls for the sword, and then the right stick is just for moving the camera.
Wow, sweet.
Yeah,
I take what I was gonna say back then.
That's the one thing that made me like consider doing motion controls. After all, I was like, that'd be nice to just like be able to move the camera whenever I wanted. But I was gonna say that I've gotten used to holding down L though to move the camera. I did go in the options and like almost right away, and I changed the camera speed to very fast.
Oh yeah, me too.
if I have to hold down a button, I just want the camera to just respond quickly. So, like,
Well, and it's
I kind of wish
sorry.
it was the default to move like the very fast default, because it's not even that fast. It says
yeah. That's what I was gonna say. It's not even very fast.
it's just like the very fast is the only speed that is like acceptable. But I was just gonna say,
Right.
I've gotten so used to like holding L in order to move the camera that I was trying to play Monster Hunter the other day, and I was like, oh my goodness, the muscle memory was too strong. I was like already used to holding L. I was like,
Yep, I did the same thing.
it was weird not to need to do that.
Yep,
Yeah.
I'm catching myself doing that too.
But yeah, so
I caught myself trying to use, what is it, L or R to sprint. Is that what it is in Monster Hunter, or is it ZR?
Yeah.
It's R.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I found myself pressing R, and I was like, oh, my item pouch. Oh, okay, it's B to sprint. B, Lisa.
Yeah.
Something I want to note about the original game, and why I maybe didn't have as much problems with the motion control as a lot of people did. I primarily, and that means all of the time, played the game standing up in front of the TV. It was not a game you could play sitting down.
No, it was not.
So I could see people having like so many issues trying to use the infrared Wii bar while sitting down. I could see that being a nightmare. So yeah, I just wanted to say that just because
Definitely.
could be the reason that so many people had troubles with them and I didn't. And it would probably make the motion controls for this way easier to use, but I have become lazy and want to sit.
That's absolutely fine. So David, going back to the visuals that Lisa was talking about, she says she doesn't really see a difference in the visuals, and I clearly do. But I want to hear what you think.
You've probably looked at the old ones more recently too.
I am not. Well, I guess maybe I have. Maybe I have. But David, I want to hear what you think.
It's not a dramatic difference to me. Like, I feel like I would need to, it's been long enough since I played the original. I'd probably need to see side-by-side video to like really notice how big of a difference it is. But like Lisa was saying, it looks good. And the bigger thing for me is the 60 frames per second. Like,
Yeah.
that actually,
Huge.
I
can't believe we haven't talked about that yet.
I'm not someone that normally cares too much about, frames per second, but it just makes the game feel so smooth and modern and just like responsive. I don't know. The 60 frames per second is probably a bigger deal to me than any graphical improvements that they added.
I agree. In fact, I went and played Breath of the Wild. Like, my daughter's playing Breath of the Wild, and we'd switched to Breath of the Wild after we were playing this game, and I was watching it chop, and I was like, surely this game doesn't chop that bad. Like, I could totally tell the difference between 30 and 60 right away, and I was like, oh no, I need 60 frames a second on Breath of the Wild now too.
The 60 frames per second is nice. It's nice to just have the game play smoothly, and unfortunately it's fairly common for quite a few Switch games to have frame rate issues, so
Yeah.
it's just nice things to just have smooth, consistent frame rate.
Lisa, you noticed that one, right?
Nope. Do you know how long it's been since I played the? Wait, do you mean like frame rate in comparison to itself previously, or frame
No.
rate in comparison to Breath of the Wild?
To Breath of the Wild or anything else?
Oh, no. Still no.
Still no. So,
I'll I feel like I tend to notice if there's like huge drops in frame rate, but if there isn't, I might not notice.
Yeah, but I want to talk briefly about some of the other quality of life stuff. I feel like some of the reasons is that a lot of fans didn't, this wasn't their favorite Zelda game. Was obviously some people just didn't like the motion controls, but there was also, little things like Fi's annoying, and you have to read item descriptions more than once. I feel like basically
Oh yeah.
Nintendo came and fixed almost every complaint that people had about the original game. Like, it's just Fi doesn't talk to you as often. A lot of her comments are completely optional now. It's nice that I don't have to read item descriptions more than once. I know that for Anthony, one of his favorite, there was a part of the game where Fi popped up and like spoiled how to solve the puzzle almost immediately. He didn't have time to think about how to do it. I know that was like an infamous thing that I remember him talking about. Like, I was so mad. It would have been such a cool puzzle, but she just ruined it before I had to think about it.
Yeah, she never pops up anymore. It's nice.
It's like optional. Like your sword will like blink. You'll see your sword hilt blink, and that's like indicating Fi has something that she could tell you. I usually ignore it because for one thing, I've played the game before, so I don't need extra information, and it's nice that I can ignore it if I want.
Agreed. And it's been so long, I don't remember how to solve the puzzles anyway, so it's kind of like I'm playing a new game. So overall, are you guys happy with how the game turned out?
So far, like I said, I haven't gotten very far. I do want to gripe about two things that everyone else has already griped about, so I don't need to, but I'm gonna. First, I'll go with the one that everybody else has already complained about, is the fact that they hid that quality of life teleporting thing behind that amiibo.
That was pretty bad.
What the heck?
Pretty bad. It is super annoying. At the same time,
I know where they did it, but still.
Amiibo need functionality, as we've all been saying for a long time. But when they lock function behind the game, it's not cool.
I know.
Definitely not a good move.
Give them functionality, but how dare you? I have to admit. Sorry, Dave.
I prefer like what they did with Breath of the Wild, where it's just like a little fun bonus. Like you scan it and then you can have the Wolf Link hunt with you and stuff.
Yeah, that's super awesome.
See, where
something like that.
It's like a little benefit, but it's not quality of life. It's not.
But like it's not. I don't know. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm having trouble figuring out how to say it too, Dave. I get it.
It was a big quality of life improvement that they could have definitely implemented into the game itself. They locked it behind an amiibo, but at the same time, like there are those bird statues, and they are all kind of all over the place.
Yeah, that's.
But
I guess
you can't just scan the amiibo and take off from wherever you are inside a temple, and then beam right back to that same spot in the temple.
Do you have to scan it every time? And is that even allowed? It seems weird. Can you warp straight back into a temple?
Yes, right back where you warped from. That's what I'm saying. It would be really nice to have in the main game and just have it included, but they had to lock that.
So yeah, that's my first gripe. My second gripe is the one that is entirely my own fault, and I could probably fix it by buying new ones, but I want to just be in misery for a little bit. And that's that, those little things that you're supposed to put on your Joy-Cons when you just play with your Joy-Cons separate.
Oh,
the little things with the straps. I lost those forever ago, and when I realized I lost them, I was just like, I didn't even like them. They were just in the way. It's fine to not have them. This is like the one game that I feel like I'm like suddenly like, dang it.
Yeah,
I really wish I had them.
Now that you're using motion controls again.
Yeah, and like these are controls that I feel like I could legitimately accidentally throw one. Whereas like almost any other game where it's like playing with your Joy-Cons not connected, like I'm just like, there's no way that this is gonna leave my hand. And while that might be false, I haven't had a problem yet. So
very nice. So do you guys have any last minute rapid fire thoughts you want to share before we wrap it up?
I think my final thoughts. I'm gonna keep playing with button controls. Probably I've gotten used to them, and I feel like if I tried motion controls, the only thing I would prefer about them is the option to move the camera whenever I wanted. But I've gotten used to holding down L, so I'll probably stick with button controls, and I just enjoy the game.
So my final thoughts are that if you have not played the game before, this is definitely the definitive way to play it. It is a fantastic game. It's still one of my absolute favorites in the series. I will say and clarify that Anthony's and my now favorite Zelda game is Breath of the Wild. And we want every Zelda game to be like Breath of the Wild now. I don't know how they keep doing better and better, but I mean, that's at least my opinion because I love Skyward Sword so much. And they built upon it in all the good ways in Breath of the Wild. Now, there's definitely room for improvement from Breath of the Wild to Breath of the Wild 2. But for real, if you want to come back and play the original Zelda with the original Zelda roots, In the game, this is definitely a good one to do it because dungeons are fantastic. The mechanics now with the button controls are also fantastic. Even the motion controls, I'd argue, are fantastic. Okay, they're good, I guess now because we don't have a motion bar, but they work. It's so fun.
You haven't given them a fair shake, I'd say.
I will definitely have to do that. But yeah, for real, this is definitely a good one to pick up. So
you give me another final thought I wanted to say, Steve. That
do it.
Like, I love Breath of the Wild, and I think it's definitely what Zelda should do from now on. But playing this again, like, I have a lot of nostalgia for that, and I think classic Zelda still has its place. Like, there's still a place for it.
Or even just add traditional dungeons back to the Breath of the Wild 3D games.
Yeah, maybe that's all it would take.
Yeah.
Like, some more traditional dungeons. But yeah, it's kind of funny to realize in some ways this game is the opposite of Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild's open world. You can go wherever you want. In this game, like, everywhere you go feels like you're solving a puzzle. You know, it's maybe the opposite of open world in some ways. You land on the surface and you go and you have to, like, solve puzzles to make a path just to get to the dungeon. So
that's true.
The areas leading to the dungeons themselves are, you know, almost like mini dungeons. So
yep.
You know, not with boss fights and stuff, but like solving puzzles and figuring out how to move the path forward.
How to alter the terrain to your advantage and get you where you need to go.
Yeah.
It will definitely scratch your Zelda dungeon itch. Well, you heard it here first, guys. Zelda Breath of the Wild is awesome, and Skyward Sword is just as awesome. So if you like Breath of the Wild, you'll definitely like this one. Yeah, and you heard it here first. Until next time, guys, keep it nerdy.